Stacker here. Got a very interesting headline today from Kitco. I just saw this a couple hours ago, and I wanted to hop on here and talk to all of you about it. And the headline, we'll just get right to it, is Russia confirms BRICS will create a gold-backed currency. Now, of course, this is something that we have been hearing about for a while now, especially so far in 2023. It was back in January that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov told us that the BRICS would be working on a new currency at their August meeting to be held this year in Johannesburg, down there in South Africa. But this headline from Kitco really caught my attention because, of course, this would be a significant development for the global economy, for the process of de-dollarization, and also for gold and the gold price. This could be a major development. And so I wanted to dig in a little bit and see how accurate this headline actually was, because some of the sources, I don't know, they don't seem definitive necessarily. But also today, I kind of want to take a look at some of the signs that point towards this being accurate, that there will be a BRICS gold-backed currency coming in August. It's only about a month away now. I believe the meeting is going to be held August 23rd and 24th. And so, I mean, really only a matter of weeks until we may see a new gold-backed currency to rival the dollar. Now, one of the things that was being cited in this article is this tweet here from this guy, Willem Middelkoop. This seems to be going around, and he's posted a number of these headlines from RT. Now, I'm just going to log into Twitter here so we can take a closer look at these. We've got the gold standard will be of great benefit to strengthening new single currency. That's one of the headlines from RT regarding this new BRICS currency. Here's another one. BRICS planning to introduce new trading currency backed by gold at August summit. So certainly these sound like there is a gold currency coming. Here is another, and remember, RT is state-owned. They are owned by the Russian government. And so here's another one, new money, new world. But I mean, this is hardly definitive, right? I looked around on the RT website and I couldn't actually find an announcement that they are going to be backing the currency by gold. But one of the things that Willem Middelkoop was citing was this tweet here. And I think that this perhaps is a rather credible piece of evidence. This Twitter account here, Russ Emb Kenya, it's the Russian embassy in Kenya's Twitter account. And I looked at the account. It's been around since 2013. It appears to be a valid account, and they're posting this tweet back on July 3rd. The BRICS countries are planning to introduce a new trading currency which will be backed by gold. More and more countries recently expressed desire to join BRICS. And so when I see that, that is the official Russian embassy Twitter account in Kenya, mind you. So I don't know how big of an embassy that is, but that's pretty interesting. And I want to go over today some of the other signs that we could have this gold currency coming, because I think we are going to get it. I do see a few folks in the chat saying hello to everybody tuning in. Please do smash that like button. And one of the reasons that this is relevant to us gold and silver stackers is that if we do get a gold-backed currency out of BRICS, and there's plenty of evidence that that is coming, it could have a very significant effect on gold's price, on the price of gold. We could see the gold price move up significantly, especially in dollar terms, should we see this developed. Here's a question. Smart Silver Stacker, why do you think coin collecting and metal stacking is predominantly male? I'm assuming you mean like a male pastime or activity. I don't know. I have no clue. I know that we've got plenty of lady stackers who watch this channel, although if I look at the statistics, it does skew male, no doubt. I think YouTube as a whole does, though, so I'm not really sure. Maybe the ladies are just better at playing their cards close to their chest, and we just don't know that they are, stackers. So I'm not sure what the answer to that question is. But for any of you folks out there with kids, if you've got daughters, I encourage you to teach them about sound money, and that's probably the way to fix that discrepancy. If it is, yeah. See, we got plenty of ladies sounding off in the chat who are stackers. I know you're out there. That's why I try not to use the word guys when I'm addressing the audience. Hey, you guys. I probably let it slip every now and then. But I know we have lady stackers. I'm sorry, I'm kind of coughing and clearing my throat. I had somebody in the live stream yesterday complain about that. Since I had the virus that can't be named, my sinuses have been kind of a mess. So sorry about that. Now, I do want to get into some of the other news here regarding this gold-backed currency. First, one of the reasons that we stack, again, is because of this de-dollarization. I mean, it's been a major theme on this channel. If you do want to buy some gold or silver, make sure you check out sdbullion.com. They are today's video sponsor. New stackers can get gold or silver at spot right now by visiting sdbullion.com/new. I actually just picked up some constitutional silver from them, so we should be getting an unboxing video soon. Now, this announcement on Kitco, this headline, we looked at it just a moment ago. Russia confirms Brics will create a gold-backed currency. It seems like maybe it's jumping the gun. I mean, I don't know, because there's some RT headlines and that sort of thing. Doesn't necessarily mean it's an official announcement. Again, I couldn't find anything in the Russian media or US media confirming this. But if we go back to January, we've got this headline from Sergei Lavrov there. This is from the Russian TASS news agency. BRICS summit to discuss association's currency. So we know that it is official that they will be looking at creating a new currency. I mean, at the time, back in January, Lavrov did not tell us that the currency would be backed by gold, but he has hinted to that, and he's talked about hard assets in the past. At the time, he said, serious countries with self-respect understand very well what is at stake. They see the underhandedness of the masters of the current international monetary system and want to create their mechanism to ensure sustainability that would be protected from the external directive. So what is he telling us there? Well, he is telling us that the dollar is less appealing to countries internationally. Countries don't want the currency that they're holding and using for international trade to be subject to sanctions. And so they are looking at an alternative. Now, one of the pushbacks I've seen regarding a BRICS currency is that the BRICS nations, they're just too divided. They're too different. They've got all these different central banks, all these different cultural histories, they speak different languages, and it'll be impossible to get them to collaborate on this closely enough. John Lee was saying that. I interviewed him a couple months ago, and that was one of his things when I asked him about a BRICS currency. He said, no, it'll never happen. They're too loosely associated, the BRICS organization. But one thing about gold is that it doesn't require a lot of counterparty trust. As long as there's some kind of an auditing and you can be relatively assured of gold convertibility, gold itself doesn't have all of the uncertainty associated with it that fiat currencies do. So I think that there's clear evidence here that the BRICS nations would at least be considering gold as the basis of any alternative currency. Excuse me, a little water there. Now, this is a story from March. It was about Russia and Iran working together to create a gold stablecoin currency. And I'll just read this little bit to you here. This is from Russia Briefing. The Central Bank of Iran is discussing with Russia the possibility of creating a token that could replace the US dollar, Russian ruble, and Iranian rial in foreign trade payments. The token would be backed by gold, meaning it would work as a stablecoin, a cryptocurrency tied to the exchange rate of fiat monies, or in this case, it would be tied to gold itself. I mean, presumably, it would be convertible somehow, something along those lines. But we know that the Russian central bank and the Iranian central bank are working closely to create this gold-backed stablecoin token for cross-border payments. Now, what else have we learned recently? Well, Iran has applied to join the BRICS organization. So, BRICS has announced that they are working on an alternative currency, or they may be announcing one in August. You've got Iran and Russia working on a gold-backed stablecoin, and then Iran is joining BRICS. So, I mean, you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I mean, the pieces are coming together for there to be a BRICS-backed a Brics gold-backed currency. You know, when you look at all those headlines out of RT saying there's going to be one, it's not that, far of a stretch to say they will create a gold-backed currency. Now, the other thing that we've got going on in this geopolitical situation is Saudi Arabia. You know, they're a key to the petrodollar system, the system by which OPEC's oil is sold and priced in dollars. And Iran and Saudi Arabia had this, long-standing feud. They had been at odds with another. Well, what happened? Well, China just happened to broker a peace arrangement between them, and Saudi Arabia is also going to be joining BRICS. So, clearly this is part of a bigger strategy here. I think that's fairly obvious. This is a headline from just a month ago. China's gold buying spree continues for seventh consecutive month. That's from oilprice.com. But that's information that's available to anybody. That's open source intelligence. The Chinese have been expanding their official gold holdings for 7 months straight. Probably they have non-official gold holdings that vastly exceed their big holdings. Remember, China is the world's number one producer of gold. They produce more gold than any other country, and yet they have been an importer of gold for decades. So where is all this gold going? It's not leaving the country. Supposedly I think they have a little over 2 tons, whereas the official holdings of the US are something like 8 tons and change. But I suspect that the Chinese have a lot of gold that they haven't been telling us about, and they've been waiting for an opportunity to unveil it. Now, we know the economic warfare between the US and China has been accelerating. The more or less open kinetic warfare between the US and Russia, and NATO and Russia, is ongoing. So, what better time than August to perhaps let it be known that they have a lot more gold than they've previously been letting on. And now, what are these other BRICS nations up to? Well, we've got Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, South Africa has been big on promoting the idea of BRICS expansion, so we know they want to get the Saudis and the Iranians in there. But what is India up to? India is a country that has a lot of gold. I've heard that it's estimated that the Indian population, just the average people there, have something like 25 tons of gold in their possession. It's more than any country's official gold holdings. So, India is a country that has a massive population. They're the world's most populous country. They're a majorly developing nation. Their per capita GDP is way, way lower than any of the other, Western nations that are on like the top 10 list of the size of GDP. Even China, I think their per capita GDP is something like 10x that of India. But India is up and coming, and one of the things that they announced recently, just a few days ago, was that they are working on cross-border CBDC payments with central banks. They're working with at least 18 other countries to use their digital rupee for cross-border payments. Now, why are they doing that? Well, this is a quote from, what's this guy's name? He's the governor of the RBI, that's the Indian Central Bank. His name is Shaktinka Das, and he says, in India, we have no shortage of dollars, but in some other markets, due to a shortage of dollars, they are unable to do imports. So the problem here is that the Fed here in the United States has been hiking rates. They have created this shortage of dollars around the world. And so what India is doing is they're saying, well, if countries that we trade with are running out of dollars, we'll set up arrangements with them where we can have them pay with the digital rupee, which we can control and prevent shortages of. And so, they're already buying oil from Russia with rupees or rubles. They've already de-dollarized to some extent in India, but they are working on cross-border digital currency payments with a number of their trading partners. So, you can see the trend here among the BRICS nations is to go away from the dollar, and many of them are working on projects that involve gold. So when you see this headline from Kitco that Russia confirms a gold-backed currency, it's really not shocking. And I suspect that in the very near future, within the next couple of weeks, probably, we will get more of an official confirmation, whether that be from Putin himself or Sergei Lavrov. We might even hear from leaders from some of the other BRICS nations like Xi Jinping. Who knows? But I have a very strong suspicion that they will be announcing officially, in no uncertain terms, a gold backed currency. And I suspect that that announcement will come no later than the meeting itself. I mean, we shouldn't have to wait long. The meeting is going to be August 23rd, 24th, I believe, in August. So we won't have to have long to find out. Now, let's see. I'm going to the chat here. If you're in the chat, I do appreciate you joining. Please, I said, smash the like button. It really does help the algorithm. I really appreciate it. I had somebody ask about rate hikes. Sorry, it looks like the question has been cut off. The Fed did announce that they're going to be doing more rate hikes throughout the rest of the year. However, I'm always skeptical of that. I think the Fed likes to talk a hawkish game as much as they can. But, I covered in yesterday's video that we saw a spike up in the 10-year treasury, and that caused a major sell-off across markets. I mean, there's only so high the Fed can hike these rates. And if you look at what's going on in the markets today, gold and silver both in the green pretty significantly. I don't have the chart in front of me here, but it appears that despite the fact that the Fed has made this announcement regarding higher interest rates, that the gold and silver market, really, you would kind of expect them to tank on that news. But, I mean, look at what silver's doing today. Here, courtesy of SD Bullion, silver up over 2% today, 47 cents. So pretty much gaining back all the losses from yesterday. And I suspect that that's because markets know the Fed is bluffing. Now, I'm not saying we're not going to get the rate hikes. I mean, it's anybody's game. If we do get higher inflation later this year, I think that, the Fed, they tell us they're data dependent. That probably means that the Fed is going to have to hike if they see higher inflation, but they won't if something breaks in the economy. If we get a banking crisis, and I mean, who knows? We're heading towards kind of a perfect storm here of de-dollarization, quantitative tightening, and financial crisis here in the U.S. We've got a banking crisis that's, almost worse than the 2008 crisis. It is, in terms of just the deposits, the amount of deposits of the affected banks. They're higher already than what happened in 2008, and we're only halfway through the year. So, if Brics announces a gold-backed currency and the price of gold shoots up, or if China dumps its treasuries, that could very well mean that the Fed has no ability to hike rates. It was just a couple days ago, I think it was last week actually, that Congress told Janet Yellen that she needed to have a plan in place for when China dumps its nearly $1 trillion worth of U.S. treasuries. And part of that plan is not going to be the Fed hiking rates. I guarantee you that. They will have to come in and buy up some of that debt. And I don't think they'll hesitate to do that. We know that they're willing to intervene. They already did the Bank Term Funding Program back in March. They expanded their balance sheet to stop the collapse of the U.S. banking sector. And if we see the recession, the banking crisis, the financial crisis, if we see a major fifth generational financial warfare kind of thing break out, then certainly the Fed, I don't think they'll hesitate to come on and come into the market as the buyer of last resort and buy up U.S. Treasuries to drive interest rates down if they really have to. Maybe they'll get two more hikes in there. Maybe they won't. It's anybody's game. I think they're going to keep trying. So, barring a major economic crisis, I think the Fed will keep hiking. It doesn't look like the gold and silver market are going to be too terribly affected by that. And with everything else going on in the world, that's not hard to see why. And if we get a gold-backed currency out of Brics in August, that could change the whole game. That could be a major blow against the dollar. I think a lot of people have been hearing this for a long time. I mean, we've been hearing about the Brics nations. Really, they've been in the news for close to a decade now. The de-dollarization thing has been in the works for a very long time, but it's sort of coming to a head now. And I think that the gloves are off as far as the international fifth generational financial warfare. And the U.S. is leading the charge there by weaponizing the U.S. dollar. We've launched more sanctions, I think, in 2023 than in any year in recorded history. I'm not sure about that. You can fact check me on that if you want, but I know that when you look at a chart, like a 10-year chart of sanctions, the new entities being sanctioned just absolutely skyrocketed this year. And so, countries, when they can't trust the dollar, what are they going to go to? If they can't trust the yuan or the ruble or the real, you can always trust gold. I mean, Why do they want gold, right? Gold has no counterparty risk. You can't weaponize it, you can't sanction it. And if we do see this gold backed currency get adopted, I think that it will have a significant effect on the gold price, but also the silver price. I mean, where gold goes, silver follows. You know, the two metals tend to trade in tandem to one another. And as we see the dollar being undermined in this process of de-dollarization, I think that silver is really going to benefit as well as gold. And it might even benefit disproportionately. You know, if there's a mania or anything like that triggered around the world, people trying to move into the safety of precious metals, you got to remember there's more above ground gold than there is above ground silver. There's something like 6.7 billion ounces of gold that have been mined throughout human history, and they, are almost all still available above ground. And silver, there's like 3 billion ounces, and it's getting consumed more and more. So the supply of silver is shrinking, the supply of gold is expanding. So if we do see a gold-backed currency, it might even involve silver. I mean, who knows? When we see the actual details play out, maybe it'll be commodity-backed. That's another thing I've heard. And certainly, Russia and China, they've got a lot of silver, they've got a lot of platinum, they've got a lot of these commodity industrial metals as well as gold. And so, silver, I think, could really disproportionately benefit from any development like this. But that's what's going on with the gold backed currency. Um, Silver Stormy Normie, he makes an interesting point. He says, if you're 60 or older, my opinion would be you are better off going with gold for wealth preservation than silver. Now, I don't give financial advice on this channel, but there's something to what he is saying there in the sense that silver is a little bit more speculative than gold. There's no doubt about that. Central banks, they hold gold, they don't hold silver. But gold has always kind of been the metal of kings, the metal of the banks, and silver is sort of the metal of the people throughout history. And it was more widely used than gold as a currency for most of human history. And I do think that, you look at the prices of gold and silver today, where the ratio is at. I'm not sure where the number is at right now. I think it's like north of 80. Historically, it's very high. Silver is very cheap compared to gold. And I think that silver is just a massive opportunity. That's why I focus most of my stacking on silver, not so much gold. Now, the idea of a gold-backed currency, you noticed I got the gold backs out here for today's video. I thought that they were appropriate because, hey, maybe the Brics nations can just start using gold backs, right? Why have a gold-backed currency when you can just have a gold currency? I would say this, I would be skeptical of any Brics gold-backed currency. It seems like convertibility there could be ended at any time. I mean, that is always the risk of a gold-backed currency, right? Just like how Richard Nixon suspended convertibility of the dollar into gold back in 1971. Who's to say that the Russians or the Chinese or whoever is controlling this currency could end convertibility? But maybe they'll come up with some kind of novel mechanism for gold convertibility. I mean, there's certainly ways that you could probably do that with a blockchain and with a stable coin backed by gold. Maybe you have some kind of a smart contract and a independent third-party escrow service of some sort. I mean, it would be possible to make a gold-backed digital currency that you could trust, I think. But it would just depend on how you set it up. And I'm not necessarily sure that the Brics would be the entity that I would trust to do that. But again, it's all just about the rules, right? If you set it up with the right rules, it could very well be something that could be very trustworthy. Again, by using, third parties, smart contracts, escrow services, any of those things could lead to increased confidence in a gold-backed currency. Someone says, can you please do a video where you discuss the U.S. debt clock, gold and silver numbers? I'll tell you what, I'll do it right now. You don't have to wait. I'm just going to go ahead and announce it right now. What's going on with, I'm assuming what you mean is this dollar to dollar to silver ratio, dollar to gold ratio. I believe, let me look at this real quick and make sure I'm right about this, but I believe this has something to do. Yeah, okay. So this is because on the debt clock, this metric that you're looking at right here, this one where it says, it says 0 and there's an asterisk. He says no at the bottom of the page. Well, let me address this real quick. So this is just because this is measuring the supply growth of gold and silver versus the supply of the US M2 money supply, and year over year, the M2 money supply is now declining. So you're dividing by a negative number and it creates a zero. Um, the bottom right corner, gold, precious metals tab. Okay, this is one I'm not really even familiar with. Excuse me, sorry about that. I know it's my sinuses. I'm sorry, guys. Someone said they were grossed out by it in the comments. I apologize. This is a problem with these live streams. I can't edit out the sound of me, clearing my sinuses. I'm sorry about that. It's kind of gross, but it just comes with the territory. All right, let's see. World precious metal. I'll put up on screen what I'm looking at here, so you guys, if you have any specific questions about this. Um, So gold ounces looks like gold production. You know how much how much gold and silver are being produced. But it says 2020 year to date, and it doesn't look like that's the right number of silver ounces to me. I believe world production is something like um, 800 800 million. So I don't know. I haven't looked at that tab. Looks like maybe the data feeds are wrong for it or something. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Let's see. Go to the chat here before we wrap this up. Does that silver reserves number look possible? It says 18 billion ounces, I think. No, I don't believe so. It's hard to get accurate numbers for how much above ground silver there actually is because I mean, they've been mining silver and gold for like thousands of years. The Incas mined a bunch of this stuff, right? And it was seized by the conquistadors. And I mean, who was keeping accurate records back then? And it's all kind of around. Um, as someone says in the chat, what app was that he was using? That was usdebtclock.org. And I clicked the little tab in the bottom corner that had to do with gold and silver production. I'll take a look at that later. It looked like the numbers were not right, though. Um, but it's hard to say how much gold and silver there actually is above ground. I think the numbers surrounding gold are somewhat more accurate because it's something like 80 to 90% of the gold that has been mined above ground is it's been mined since 1950. I think up until 1950, humans were supposed to have mined about a billion ounces of gold, and since that time, we've mined about 5.7 billion, if I'm correct about that. Numbers about silver. I've tried my best to find these numbers, but it's just very tough. The U.S. Geological Survey has some data on it. I believe one of the interesting things that they say is that the U.S. government has no official reserves of silver anywhere or anymore. They've sold those all onto the market. So the U.S. government has got a lot of gold, but they don't have any silver, as far as I understand. And same thing goes for central banks around the world. No silver that they officially report, but they've got a lot of gold. So the silver largely has been consumed by industry, and we're in a period of shortage when it comes to silver. This stuff is running out. Went through almost 250 million ounces last year, in excess of what was being produced both from mining and recycling. So yeah, gold is abundant and silver not so much. And they're certainly not priced that way. But again, that's why I like to stack silver primarily. I mean, gold's awesome too. Don't get me wrong. I forget the username, but he was saying, gold is probably best for wealth preservation. I'm sorry, it's getting kind of dim in here. I think my natural lighting is dying out. Got a storm rolling in or something. But yeah, silver is definitely a little bit more speculative. But if you like risk and you like the potential for a higher payoff, it might be the metal to look at. Again, not financial advice, just kind of giving you my thoughts. Gold is definitely more of a sure thing, I think. And nothing's really a sure thing in investing, but gold, I mean, the world was on a de facto gold standard up until 1971, so it really hasn't even been that long since gold has been the primary money for international trade. We've only been on this weird fiat system since 1971, and the dollar, it's lost a huge amount of its purchasing power since then. Just in terms of gold, I mean, an ounce of gold was 35 bucks in 1971. Now it's almost $2,000. And that gives you an idea of just how much purchasing power the dollar has lost. And I mean, that, of course, is another reason that these countries around the world want to dump the dollar and get gold, because gold actually is a store of value, whereas fiat currency isn't. And gold, you can kind of trust it. Yeah, the supply expands, but it's a lot of work to dig more gold out of the ground. So that's one of the reasons that I think gold is so attractive to this country, is instead of holding all of these devaluing dollars. And you think about what the U.S. has told all of these countries around the world is, we're basically committed to devaluing our currency. We had the debt ceiling thing a couple months ago, and we told everybody, well, we might default on our debts if we can't borrow more money. So what does that tell you? I mean, that's the definition of a Ponzi scheme right there. And it just shows you that, we're committed to just borrowing and spending and exporting our inflation around the world. And when nations around the world see this, they think maybe we should just use gold. Maybe we should look for something else. And also, it has the benefit that it can't be sanctioned, or at least sanctioning is a heck of a lot more difficult than a fiat currency like the dollar. That's why you see things like the ACU, that bank of 9 central banks in Asia, dumping the SWIFT system and moving towards they're using an Iranian payment system, I think, in the interim, and then they're going to develop their own payment system. Um, but yeah, so a gold-backed currency by the Brics nations, very likely. It's very, very likely that we are going to see that occur in a matter of weeks, and it could drive the price of gold way up. And one of the reasons, I don't really touch on this, but one of the reasons it could have such an impact on the price of gold is the network effect. That's one thing that I talk about a lot. That's one of the things that the dollar still has going for it. It has this massive network effect. Now, in economics, what is the network effect? It means that the more users of a system, the more valuable that system is. Because if everybody takes dollars for their oil, for example, well, then having dollars is suddenly very valuable if you need oil. But if everybody transitions to trading internationally in gold, or even if, it doesn't have to be everybody, it doesn't have to be the G7, it doesn't have to be the West. If the Brics nations, which once they expand, which is likely coming as well, will hold something like 2/3 of the world's population. I mean, they've got India and China in there, the world's two most populous nations. Once they get Saudi Arabia and Iran in there, they're going to have some of the world's biggest petroleum producers. Brazil also, makes a lot of petroleum, exports a lot of foodstuffs. They're rich in commodities. South Africa makes something like 80% of the world's platinum. If they all start pricing their commodity exports in a gold-backed currency, well, guess what is going to become a lot more valuable? It's going to be gold, because you're going to be able to get all this stuff with gold. That will make gold valuable, and it will have an inverse effect on the dollar. As the dollar loses market share, its network effect will become diminished, and gold's will grow. And that means that the dollar price of gold would be moving up exponentially. And again, silver's going to go along for the ride. Now, is this going to happen? I don't know. You don't know what you don't know. It's all kind of speculative, but there's a lot of signs out there that there will be a gold-backed Brics currency. I mean, I think that there is a preponderance of evidence that that is what is coming, and we'll know soon. So it might be a good time to stack up some gold. Make sure you check out SD Bullion, channel sponsor, if you want to do that. Also, I've got an affiliate link down in the description. If you use that to buy goldbacks at Alpine Gold Exchange, you will help support the channel at no additional cost to yourself. They have pretty much the best pricing on the one gold-backed notes. SD Bullion has really excellent pricing on the larger gold-backed notes, the 25s, the 10s, the 5s, and the 50s. So, shop accordingly. But that's it for today, everybody. Thanks for watching. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. Great live stream. Hope you have a great weekend, and I will talk to all of you again very soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe and happy stacking. Smart Silver Stacker, out.